Shalom. Um, L'chaim. This is usually a time when I have done a Bible study, and I usually have been doing Job recently. Good evening. I believe so. But let's read this and then I'll explain. This is the last chapter of the Mishnah Torah, of the Maimonides grand treatise restating the Torah. Al halev shebayomot hamashiach yibatel devar miminhago shel olam. Person should not imagine that when the Messiah comes, the world is going to stop being how it is. O yesham chidush b'maaseh bereshit, or that creation will somehow change. Ela olam keminhago noheg, but the world will be driven the way it is run. Zeshanamar b'Yeshaya v'gar zev, right? And these various prophetic statements can all be understood in naturalistic ways. And everything that is like them, be'inyan hamashiach, with regarding to the Messiah, hem meshalim, these are allegories. Ubiyomot hamelach hamashiach yivada lekol, and in the days of the Messianic king, it shall be known to everyone le'eze davar haya mashal, what exactly was being allegorized, uma inyan ramzu bahem, and what matters were being hinted in them. Now, to explain this stream. On Monday, I did not stream because, frankly, I was emotional. I was getting my hopes up. And I didn't see how a stream would contribute to the world. Yesterday, I thought that maybe I better understood things, and in community with other people, we could discuss them. Like John Vervaeke, L'chaim, says, we human beings have a model of the world, and we test it. And when the model doesn't match up with what we think, we end up becoming anxious and all the negative emotions, right? And this, in a way, guides us towards better modeling. And part of that modeling is discussing things with other people, right? And so yesterday, I did that stream, King Elon's coup. And frankly, having Sam and, to a slightly lesser extent, Paul Vanderklay, but everyone who joined, but certainly Sam there, because he's somebody who I believe understands things and I can trust. So my whole thing here is distributed cognition, right? Is secured distributed cognition. Find people who I trust to discuss things with, because I need that for my sanity. Now, one of the people I trust very much, our good friend Clown of Babylon. Hey, Lance. Oh, by the way, if anybody wants to jump on, please do. I would. I'm having this stream because I need people to talk with. I went to my therapist today. I've been back in therapy, partially because when you're becoming a therapist, you're kind of expected to be in therapy yourself, because it can be very traumatizing, right? And I went to therapy today, and I was talking to my therapist, and frankly, the discussion we had yesterday was somewhat therapeutic. And I came home, and I actually just went to bed. It was 2 p.m. I went to bed and I slept for a good 3 hours. That was a good sleep. And then I came back, and on Discord, we're having our little arguments and normal stuff. And I go on Twitter, and then I saw this. Let me see. Where is this? Here.
Thank you very much. The reason I've been so anxious.
I will put a link to this in the chat. And I have to tell you, I prescribed myself a stiff drink. Because, frankly, I haven't been paying much attention to Netanyahu's visits to the United States. I looked a little bit into it a little while back, like sometime last week. Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan had an interesting discussion, but weirdly, it was in Saudi Arabia, and they made some jokes at the beginning of it. Hey, what are you doing in Saudi Arabia? Hey, what are you doing in Saudi Arabia? This is what he was doing in Saudi Arabia. I do not know this man by sight because, frankly, I don't think he is very often doing speaking the way he does. He is, and frankly, it's dangerous for Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. A few years ago, when his cousin, is it King Mohammed, or is it he Prince? I actually have not been paying as much attention to the Middle East as I used to. Yeah, I think King Saud passed away, and now the king of Saudi Arabia is Salman. King Salman. Mohammed bin Salman is his son. Okay, so I was right. So MBS, our good friend MBS, is still crown prince. His father has not passed away yet. How old is King Salman? King Salman is 89. So yeah, King Salman is still alive. And oh, you guys aren't seeing what I'm saying. This is King Salman. His son is the crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman. Where was Mohammed bin Salman? There he is. There he is. And a few years ago, Mohammed bin Salman made a decision to consolidate power, let's put it that way, in which he rounded up all his cousins, including Al-Walid bin Talal al-Saud, and thought that he had gotten a little bit big for his britches. I think, what did they say? How much did he end up paying? He took a haircut of about $6 billion. MBS, please, Lance would love to have you. Hello, my dear friend Lance.
Hello, Jacob.
I know you're an alcoholic, but I'm going to say l'chaim anyway. Oops. Where did Lance go? We lost Lance. Maybe I shouldn't have said l'chaim, but I'm sorry, people. I am drinking tonight. Lance, you back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you are.
I'm trying to change to my iPods.
Nope. You're gone again. Sorry. So I've been thinking a lot ever since I saw this a few hours ago, less than an hour ago. I mean, I watched it, but about when the Soviet Union fell. You know, there must have been people who were at that time my age who knew the world with Cold War and suddenly the Cold War is over. Or I think of, the difference between 1944 and 1948 on the world stage. The fact is that generally change on this order would have been bloody. But since the Cold War, we have had, and I mean, there have been historically examples of changes in power that were this dramatic. Sandy,
Hey,
how you doing?
about as good as you.
Really? Because I'm doubting my sanity.
Yeah.
You too?
Went to a family reunion. No, God, not a reunion. I went to a funeral. And then I left before all the visiting started. Because, So, yeah, I took a bereavement day off work and...
Who passed?
My most recently surviving oldest brother-in-law, who now leaves, I think, about 5 instead of out of 12. So
we are going to have to buy you a microphone because Your microphone is really bad.
There is a possibility that some things like that I bought are buried in some things that I'm not dealing with.
Yeah, I
If you buy
understand.
me some sanity, I'll raise you a clean apartment and a good microphone.
I heard in the news that Trump wants to occupy the Gaza Strip for rebuilding, temporarily displacing the Gazans. That is news I did not see coming. No, you don't even understand.
Okay, is there any sanity there? I'm really sorry.
Where's there? Here?
Yeah. Well, anywhere he's got his fingers at the moment.
Oh, Trump?
Him, yeah, because I'm listening to news.
Yeah.
You know, I'm watching people protest him in, and I'm listening. Hey,
Sandy,
from the headspace where
Sandy, please
go to a funeral because
move from the headspace of people who were like, "Oh no, communism's dead," to, "Oh yes, communism's dead, and you'll be on my side." Like,
that makes no sense to me. I don't know what those two sentences mean. But
okay,
anyway,
you were alive when the Soviet Union fell.
I was alive when my grade 9 science teacher, which was the year that I dropped out of science, wouldn't talk to people about anything about his past because that's where he was from. Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, I was alive those years.
So you were in grade 9 when the Soviet Union fell?
No, that was probably later. What year was that? Let me look it up. Keep talking.
Lance is back.
That's who you really want to talk to. He'll be in your headspace.
He will. How are you doing, Lance?
I'm doing good. So,
did you see the Sally Joe says that now you're stealing Apocalypse from the Christians. It's our term. Well, there is a revelation going on. I don't know. I wouldn't say that this is the final revelation, but so Lance, did you see the interview with the prince from Saudi Arabia?
I saw the first 5 or 10 minutes of it. That you were talking about, was that the guy who talked to Tucker?
Yeah. I don't even know this guy's name. He's not important. Walid bin Talal. I mean, he's not an important person, but he obviously speaks for the USSR collapsed in 1991.
Yeah,
I was 14.
I was just moving away from Newmarket and my ex's family in that area to put my son into the deaf school. My mind was a little busy.
I mean, I have to say, like, the reason why I'm drinking is, despite Sally Jo says, cheer up, it's going to be a great ride, is because this is what I was talking to my therapist about this morning. I don't do well with this level of hope. And like, I'm 47 years old. I don't have a history of manic depression. I almost think I may be manic. I mean, it looks like there's going to be peace in the Middle East. Like, real lasting peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, so that was what I wanted to touch base with you, because I know you're close to it. So the first thing I thought about as soon as Trump said we'd own it is I immediately just watching how his tactics and what he plays is like, because you could see BB wasn't really like amped up about that thing either, and it's clearly not a popular idea. I just felt like he was getting you to me, that was like, okay, he's putting that out there, which is going to say, okay, guys, you guys need to step up, because if you don't come in and figure out some sort of a solution, then the solution might be we'll come in and we'll take over Gaza. So I felt like it was trying to force some of the more Arab countries that would actually do a good job of making sure Hamas didn't take control.
Yeah.
Then that's what I feel like he was and is doing, because
That
I
is
do think
exactly where I was 2 hours ago.
so. The question I would have for you is because I just don't think Israel doesn't have a problem with listen, if you most of you haven't, if you haven't been there, Islam doesn't have a problem with Muslims. And so if there were peaceful Muslims occupying Palestine, there wouldn't be a problem. If you've Jericho, I mean, like when you drive and you go all these places, like it's everywhere, but you can't hand it over to Hamas. Like you just can't. And so it's a really tough situation. I think the answer is some regional Arab countries have just got to step up and say, okay, we have this.
Yeah, no, that's what this interview was, Lance.
Okay, but I was just watching Unpacked, going over the history of this and how and why this has been tried in the past and why we get
what has been tried in the past.
Oh hell, I'm not. So Lance,
Cal, I think you have it wrong. Chazi, I would love it if you could jump on. And just to make clear, so I was explaining that this guy, Al-Walid ibn Talal, is just a spokesperson. Like, he's not an important person. He's just out there speaking on behalf of the Saudi royal family. And he's signaling that Saudi Arabia is apparently going to be, I believe, taking over Gaza.
Okay, I didn't finish that.
He's signaling. He's not saying it.
Right, but he's saying it. No, I get it, because that's the solution, right? Like,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Oh man, because again, like what?
Yeah. No. I mean, what I'm guessing. I mean, this is why I'm losing my mind. Is like, okay, the mainstream news, like they don't seem to be seeing what's going on. We're seeing clear signals, including the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, when right after Bibi and Trump says this, right? So they've apparently come to a decision, and from what I understand, it's a pan-Arab decision that they are now going. Yoav, מה שלומך?
Hello.
Did you see? Have you seen this thing?
No, I haven't seen that interview.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to keep following the news that are coming so fast nowadays.
L'chaim. It might be a little early to drink, but l'chaim.
Okay. First thing, I ought to advise you.
Yeah.
Don't drink and drive.
I'm at home. I'm not driving anywhere.
Don't drink and
stream.
And stream. I mean, I really enjoying this conversation, but I advise you to end it as quickly, because eventually you're going to make a fool of yourself, and you're not lacking of enemies. So
my enemies can say whatever they want.
As regarding peace in the Middle East, we have in the Bible sometimes ותשקוט הארץ 40 שנה. You have intermissions.
Yeah.
Up to 40 years intermission at a time. That's how much you are allotted. There will be never peace in the Middle East. Even if you saw the Israeli-Palestine conflict, which I don't believe, look at Syria. It's not one camp against another in the Middle East, not at all. It's a mess. It will never be solved. It will be solved when human nature is solved. Maybe one day human nature will be solved, but that's your deadline. Look at Turkey, look at Iran. The Kurds need a state. Egypt is in dire straits. Just too many people, too many mouths to feed. Egypt is having problem with Ethiopia. I can go on.
Oh, you're talking to somebody who is morally opposed to referring to Israel as Reshit Smichat Galatenu. I hear you. I oppose even like saying that this is Reshit Smichat Galatenu. That's why I said apocalypse now, right? But at the same time, the changes that I am seeing appear to be like that awful day when after 2,000 years there was a Jewish state in the land of Israel, kind of.
Okay, so we're going back to Jacob's ladder. We are climbing an infinite ladder. I don't believe like you, I don't believe we ever going to get to the top of it. But you see us stepping up a few steps in the ladder. And yes, we should celebrate it. I mean, I'm just beginning my day. I'm not going to drink with you at the moment. I need to drive to work very soon. But yes, it should be celebrated. And I have been quite upset last 2 weeks. Tell you what's happening. I listen a lot to voices on the right of the politics in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to them when we had our ceasefire in Lebanon. And people were lamenting, what have happened to our man Netanyahu? How could he agree to this shameful retreat and surrender? And then the next day, Syria falls. And then you realize the wisdom of the step. And just a few weeks later, there is another so-called shameful retreat and surrender in Gaza. And 2 days later, you see the wisdom of the step. I think people are having daddy issues. I think people should be trusting daddy more than they do. Maybe daddy knows best.
I have a very hard time calling Bibi daddy.
Who will you trust in this world? I mean, yes, we trust in
heavenly.
in heaven.
It's from Hallel. You know that line?
Sorry, I missed it.
Tov lachasot ba'Adonai mivtoach bin divim.
Yes, but still you cannot drop that in the ballot box. I mean, yeah, we do have religious parties. We do.
I would be voting for Agudat Israel.
Fine, but there are some people there that you have to trust that they are good agents of.
Yeah.
And if you
is Agudat Israel in the Memshalar right now?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I get very disappointed with them, even though I'm not.
I I do not. If it was up to me, which obviously it's not, to sit in a government with Ben Gvir. I don't know much about Smotrich because I haven't been looking him up. But what I know about Itamar Ben Gvir, I would not sit in the same parliament, much less the same government with that man.
Okay. The story of Israeli right-wing politics is as follows. There was a nice man on the right, nice, moderate, almost progressive man on the right, that if you were somewhat right of Netanyahu, you could have voted for.
Who's that?
And naive people on the right, always the naive people on the right, voted for him.
Who are you talking about?
I
Omer?
don't want to mention
Who's
names.
Omer?
That is not on the right, and he's a convicted crook. But I'm talking about recent right-wing politics. Somebody's wearing someone wearing a kippah.
Oy vey. That's
Oy
even
vey.
worse.
And the day after the election, he cut straight left and said, I would not be sitting with this crooked man Netanyahu. I'd rather join, yes, Carl W. You're right. I'm not going to sit with this crooked man Netanyahu. I know that my politics on the right, but I'm going to sit with the left because I want to sit with the nice people, with the good people. So now you're in the next election, you're somewhat right of Netanyahu. You're not again going to vote for Naftali Bennett anymore. Who are you going to vote for?
Agudat Israel.
Possibly. If you trust those people, yes.
I don't trust those people. I trust the Rebbe. He said vote for the most Haredi party available.
I'm not arguing with you. Very good decision. But some people who are not listening, I mean, some foolish people don't listen to the Rebbe. They might fall for people right of Naftali Bennett. So if you want to blame a single person for that man you despise appearing in the government, then the people who cheated his voters, the person who cheated his voter, is the one to blame. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu has no choice of the matter because nobody wants to sit with him. Nobody wants to sit him because everybody knows he's a crook. Although he was never convicted in any court, lots of accusations, a lot of trials, and tell you the truth, the trials are not succeeding very well. If the trial against Netanyahu was successful, there wouldn't be a movie about the trial. Now you have an award-winning movie because if we cannot win our day in court, maybe we'll win our
make
day
a
in
movie.
Court.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll make. Yeah, no, I hear you. I honestly, I haven't been following Israeli politics deliberately. I've been trying not to follow politics deliberately for a while. Even in the United States, I've been trying to follow politics. This channel started with me deciding rather than following politics like I always was, and you can go back to my Genesis 1 video. It's still there. It's 5 hours long. And I went through Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Bet is prepositional bet. Reshit is in construct form. So it's in beginning. And since it's Bereshit and not Bareshit, and I went through the entire chapter letter by letter, and I repeated every single time. Why? Because I figured nobody would actually listen to the entire video. So I figured people would go to the actual verse that they wanted and listen to that one verse, right? So I made sure for every single verse I repeated so that nobody would so they wouldn't have to listen to the entire video. And I figured that was a better that was a better use of my time than me sitting around talking about politics that I can't affect at all.
Okay, so my message to you is stop this stream as soon as possible.
Why? I'm talking with my friends.
Okay, my message to Sandy Bessie is give your man, let's say, his first 100 days of grace. Hold your breath. Don't think about it. Wait for another days more. That's 3 months. And then pass your judgment. Because things are happening so fast, you don't understand what's going on. I cannot tell you what's going on, of course. Wait, you don't have to vote for another 2 years.
She doesn't have to vote at all. She's Canadian.
When are the elections?
You're wrong. I just put in your thing. Listen to Yoav. I just put in your thing. I now have to go through like the end of the month, massively quick election process. Because the things in this world, because the people who, like you were saying, you don't have a control. We have thousands of moments of indirect control.
We have moments of indirect control, but this is my unopened ballot for the U.S. election.
That's lovely, but I'm not going to unopen mine. Whatever I have to do, I will do.
When is your elections? When is your elections?
I think it's the 27th. I forget. Let me look up.
Okay. Do you have any doubt about what way you should vote in Canada?
Absolutely. I used to always vote conservative, but then when you see some of the stuff that goes on, you want to have something a little more sane. We have 5 parties here, not 2. So it allows for a little less down the middle divide, and back and forth blaming. You just kind of hate whoever's in, and everybody kind of is in the same boat because you all realize whatever you do, you're probably not going to change a heck of a lot, and they're all going to spend 90% of their election dollars telling you what idiots the other guys are. And to me, that's a really stupid waste of time. I'd rather do more sensible things. So I'm making lists of questions to send to the and our MP stepped down. My member of MPP, member of provincial parliament. So I am facing a provincial election where somebody that I'm not 100% certain I trust, who just is absolutely loving what's going on right now in the world, especially in the world between Jacob and my worlds. It's just, he's loving the FaceTime. Okay, and I want to know, instead of the usual blather, what is the actual role of government what do they actually do for us in relation to what do the actual now all I'm thinking is billionaires. That's not what I mean. Like, I work for a giant corporation. What do the corporations and the politicians actually have as their components of running an area, a region, a province, a state, a country, in a way that actually is worth the money that the people that work the bottom jobs pay them to do? And then I watched this stream talking about kids going down holes to dig tunnels because they're the ones supporting families. And I'm thinking to myself, it's very like the things that we talk about here, except that in Britain, they banned child labor 100 years or so back. But you still see a lot of things where the government that we see on the surface isn't always the government that we get below the surface in any country. And I want to know, what is the surface government supposed to look like so I can compare it to other things that I am seeing. And most of the time, they don't tell you.
Okay.
Sandy.
Okay, so just a second.
Go up.
Okay, she decided you go first.
So my advice to you was, and take it or leave it, ignore the present because you don't understand the present. Lift yourself to the situation as it was, let's say, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Say that you forgot everything that happened in the last 3 months and make your decision by that situation.
By the which?
By that
The
situation.
situation as it was 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was still asking some of the questions that I'm trying to frame as I explained it to you 3 to 6 months ago. I've been writing to representatives, but I don't think I'm writing them very well. So if I do this, yeah, I'm correct. 27th of February, I have to vote. So that's about 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I vote.
So, Sandy, what I was gonna say is the Serenity Prayer has really been my guiding light.
Does
God,
the man drinking?
give me the strength. Yes, the Serenity Prayer and some alcohol. L'chaim.
Do you know where they use the Serenity Prayer?
Yes, I do. How do you think I learned this? I'm becoming a substance abuse counselor, Sandy. You think I don't know where the Serenity Prayer comes from? How do you think I learned the Serenity Prayer? The God give me the strength,
yes,
to change the things that I can.
I know this.
The grace to accept the things that I cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference.
You're talking to the lady who spent 40 years losing her sanity and her money to a man that she thought she promised a life with, and explained to the people coming out asking about my finances who were going to explain risk to me. Would you like me to explain risk to you? I know these things, Jacob. I know them. That's why I watch the world some days and cry.
Yeah, but the reason we have liturgies, and I mean, I don't know if you've been listening to the Mesilat Yesharim thing that I've been doing on Tuesdays with Ben, but
yeah.
the beginning part, the introduction, which actually I mentioned to Paul Vanderklay yesterday. So one of the guys who went to his Connecticut small meeting was Jewish, and apparently they were each asked to contribute a text for everybody to read so they could discuss. And the text that he gave was the Hakdama to Mesilat Yesharim, was the introduction to this book, Path of the Just, by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. And what he says in the introduction is, look, I'm not going to tell you anything you didn't know, but the fact is that we have to repeat to ourselves over and over those things that we understand are important, because that's who we are and how we are. And that's why the Serenity Prayer, it's a litany, it's a liturgy. That's why we have our liturgies, right? It's not like when I say the Serenity Prayer, I'm learning something new. And frankly, when I'm reading like the last 2 chapters of the Mishneh Torah, I pretty much know it by heart, right? And frankly, the 5 books of Moses, like if you read a chapter to me, I'll be able to. At least the 5 books of Moses, I know, right? But so why do we do the hafochba like Chazi says? Because we have to remind ourselves of the things that we know.
I know. I pulled out my old Anglican prayer book to look through it just because it has a pattern. I've started repeating small words of Christian liturgy and asking myself yesterday whether I'm allowed to sing the songs at the funeral. So I sang the ones I sang the ones that, or those, I sang the portions that didn't mention Jesus and just the ones that mentioned God, because that's how I think. And I've spent the last 2 years reciting Genesis 1:1 or 1:2, depending on your count, and Psalm 1. You want to think about liturgies? Psalm 1 is pretty.
It's a good one, but I have to say I wouldn't stop at Psalm 1, because Psalm 1, it can be it's an introduction. It's an introduction.
Yesterday's psalm was apparently my brother-in-law's favorite psalm, and the one that was his marriage text for a 65-year marriage, that all his kids and grandkids stood up and talked about this man. And my kids didn't even have grandparents, and I lost my in-laws when I was 30. You know, I look at this and I think people are losing their cookies lately, and I'm listening to people here and I'm thinking, was it talk about people having a daddy problem? I listened to children who were great-grandchildren of this man yesterday sharing their 40 years of appreciative time with him. 40 years, some of them. And what I gave to my son, I didn't really meet your dad when he died in 2000. We went in the house and he sent us to watch TV in the other room. I saw him. That is not the same as meeting him. And we only got to see him because he was dying of cancer. This is the man who was closest to me in my life. I had a mother, but I felt like an orphan since 18 years old. I listen to this stuff from places I am stronger than you have any friggin' clue. I get told so at work. I tried to push myself to work yesterday so that I would make myself walk those steps. Have the people around you that will watch you. Make sure you have something to do so that your mind and your body are occupied. Make the choices. Serenity prayer. Change the things you can change. But my manager said to me, I think you need the day off, and I think you do need to go to this funeral. So I went, and I spent the afternoon crying at the loss of 40 years and more, maybe 60, maybe even the almost 67 that I am. And the things I would love to leave behind for my kids. And the faces of little kids that I watched in this video I put in your private chat, going down and digging tunnels with this look on their face that I don't like seeing, because it's the faces of people coping with taking this place of parents, because they are the ones now in control, because they are the people that can bring the change, and because they are the people that can push for things. And it wasn't in a healthy way. And I've watched my children crumble under the dynamics of the family I gave them because I didn't leave. And what did you say 15 months ago when this all started? If this was me, I would pick up and leave. You cannot raise children in this. I don't know. Hope is a weird thing. I still have hope. I watched you talk about hope and how hard it is to deal with hope. You're right. Hope stings like a fire. It is hard to hold hope. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. And yes, Yoav, thank you. Thank you. I will re-listen to what you said on this later before I vote. And I will think back. I do have trouble thinking back because I obviously have too much in my history that if I think back, it uncovers things that I want and that I'm proud of, but it also uncovers things that I regret deeply and cannot change. Like actually giving my children a good life and a good family, you know?
Sandy, okay. What?
Oh, Jacob, don't say my name in that way.
Sandy, in what way, Sandy?
You talk to me like I'm a girl.
I talk to you like you're a person. I talk to boys like that too, Sandy.
So I'm waiting. You were going to say something.
What was I going to say? I was going to say, the reason we have to be able to look back and repent and accept the results of our repentance is because we can't go back in time. Okay, I can go back and say I should have, could have, would have done X, Y, and Z, but I can't go back in time. And what has already happened is as good as it could have been. I can't change what was. And if I am constantly, and I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you, because it's the same thing in my own life, right? If I were to think for me, looking at these young men, these 6 young men that Elon Musk has taken to Washington, D.C. with him. I was that age and I wanted to do what they're doing. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to be, and that's what I was in school for. That's what I just wanted to figure out how to make things run better. And the weirdest feeling has been watching them do it and knowing I have contributed absolutely nothing. I would love to get on a plane, but I'm 47 now.
Which is not as old as you think it is.
Well, it's old enough that I'm not going to be sleeping on a cot on the 5th floor of the GSA building in Washington, D.C. I remember flying to Washington, D.C., and it was the night that we were going to start the Iraq War under Bush, the second Iraq War. And I was there to go on my interviews to work with the federal government, as it was my, and that's what I wanted to do. And these young boys are doing it. And frankly, my biggest worry, when I was talking to my therapist today, started crying when I mentioned it. I'm like, any minute now, I expect some court to issue a restraining order telling them they have to stop working. And as I left, I told him, next week I'll be back. There'll be a restraining order. I won't have any hope anymore, and I'll feel a lot better.
I wish I didn't understand what you just said.
But look, things appear to be, and maybe I'm wrong, and that's why I'm doing this stream, is I want to talk to people who I trust to be able to look at the world and tell me, Jacob, no, that's not what's happening. But that's the weird thing about the stream yesterday, right? When Sam came on and he's like, yeah, Jacob, we're looking at cutting $1 trillion from the Medicare budget. $1 trillion. Like that's, and like I said before I came on, I was preparing to come on tonight for this stream, and I was asking myself, like, do things like this happen. And that's why I was thinking of the fall of the Soviet Union. You know, it was very sudden, but it happened. And, you know, it looks like, and frankly, I have to say, like the whole Middle East peace thing, it's, I mean, there's going to be an interview, I'm sure, Piers Morgan with this prince, this Saudi prince, and then there's going to be meetings, and there's going to be, like, they're going to sign something, but things happened very quickly that are so beyond anything we can impact.
I have, again, I want to assure you about the issue of peace in the Middle East. It's not up to the princes. It's up to the men in the street, the normal common man. I was there. We had our peace. Remember, we had our peace with Egypt. That was peace in the Middle East. It was long ago. We have peace with Egypt. Israel and Egypt have been through 3 wars at least before that. So we gave the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt, which is by area bigger than the rest of Israel altogether. And there was peace, so we could go on and visit that Sinai Peninsula. It wasn't ours, but it belonged to Egypt, but I could have visited it. And I had to take a passport, but I could visit it. And there I met the common Egyptian man. And the common Egyptian man told me he doesn't want me there. He doesn't like me, he doesn't want me around. So I didn't come back to the Sinai Peninsula again. So yeah, you can say there is peace in the Middle East, but there will be never peace in the Middle East until you correct human nature, which will be sometime.
Okay, so I'm glad you're here to be the anti-Mashiachist that I usually am. And you're right. You're speaking to the exact right person, because I am the number one person to. It is my job in this corner of this corner of this corner of the internet to tell people the Messiah has. L'chaim. You're right. The Messiah has not come. But I have to say, it seems things are a lot better. Things are progressing a lot faster to a lot better things than I imagined. Certainly 4 or 5 months ago. And I would say even a few hours ago. And I would say even certainly since last Friday. Will you give me at least that much, Yoav?
I'll give you anything. I like you.
Yoav, that is our problem.
Okay, but now I must apologize. I also work in a corporation and I still have to walk up those steps, so please excuse me.
Have fun at work.
I'm waiting to hear both sides at work, because of, I work for an American corporation I work for a Canadian entity of an American corporation, where you've got a lot of feet on the ground getting upset about potential food issues and other things. And
there's not going to be any issues.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding? We talked to my
any issues.
Oh no! I talked to my son during COVID, and his one thing was, apparently there was a toilet paper issue temporarily in Australia, so all of Canada lost its mind and started
stockpiling the paper.
Okay. Don't forget, I worked retail during COVID. I'm used to insanity. When people start promising it to me, I'm like, please don't. You
People
guys
need
have
to
far
calm
too good
down.
imaginations. What are you doing to that poor kitten?
I am clipping her claws. What else would I do to this poor kitten? Don't you clip your kitten's claws?
You know, I owned cats and I never did. No.
Well, somebody needs to clip their claws.
Yeah.
Did you let the groomer do it, or?
Oh gosh, I didn't have a groomer. We just had a backyard and trees, and we let them go.
Oh, that's another thing. I mean, if they're outdoor cats,
They were,
they need less trimming than indoor cats do, but because if you don't trim their claws, then they have to find your furniture to no, you're staying until I finish.
It's like you're putting me on display.
Stop it. Yeah, I know. I don't like my claws getting clipped either. But that's what it takes to be a cat. Sorry. Yeah, it's only her front claws that need cutting. I need to cut Happy's claws.
My most recent cat that I had, which was, we haven't had cats since I had kids. Jacob was very allergic to them when he was a baby, so I would like to have a cat again, but I do need to deal with some issues here before I do. So, but yeah, my most recent, I had a little tortoiseshell, and she had issues with her front claws, and they actually pulled them out because they were malformed. She couldn't run across the carpet without doing a face plant. So
the problem with turtles or tortoises is they live so long.
They're my favorites.
They live forever. They live longer than human beings do.
Cats. Tortoiseshell.
I thought you said a tortoiseshell.
Cat.
Oh, cats are your favorite. Okay.
No. It's called a tortoiseshell cat.
Oh. What's a
It's
tortoiseshell cat?
Has to do with its coloring. It's not super common. Calicos are more common, but tortoise. Let's see, tortoise.
Apparently, her coloring is called void.
Really?
Apparently, somebody said that to me. Might be wrong. So Zach wants to know, how does it feel? Are you excited to be an American?
No, not particularly.
It'll be fun being an American.
What's that?
It'll be fun being an American.
Sure. I was American when I was about 5 to 8 years old, and used to watch Channel 7 News out of Buffalo. Commander Tom. I would beg to watch the news because they had this one news guy that he would do a segment for kids, and people would mail him in boxes of candy and little toys and other things, and they would do the whole call in and if it's your birthday today, we'll wish you happy birthday and stuff like that. I was American before some of you were born.
Tortoiseshell cat. Oh,
They're gorgeous, and they have the sweetest temperament.
Are.
I know. Yeah.
I just called them Brindle.
Well, they're cute. That too. Yeah.
No, Brindle.
Brindle.
I believe that's called Brindles. Brindle cat. Oh, so apparently Brindle cats are slightly different from tortoiseshell. No, actually, apparently Brindle is a different name for tortoiseshell. Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go.
Is that?
Oh no! Apparently the tortoiseshell shells are asymmetrical. I don't know.
Oh, cute cat. That cat too in the ad.
Oh, that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
I was gonna be smarty and say, is that American product you're advertising? I can't.
Probably is.
I walk into the store and I grab my whatever I want off the shelf, and I'm watching people watch me, and they're reading labels. Canadians are very, very good at boycotting things. And
Don't
my-
worry. Once you become part of the United States, you won't have to deal with that stuff.
I don't know. You guys are pretty good at doing the protesting. It's a very bit more.
Yeah, no, it's people do it for fun.
My so one of the writing groups that I an online writing group from a group affiliated with a local corporation that you absolutely love, but we won't mention who. They're yeah, so somebody posted, oh, I see that the Giller Prize has now cut ties with Scotiabank.
I have no idea what either one of those things are.
And one is a writing prize, and the other has to do with people that are near and dear to our hearts that we were just discussing in other countries.
If you say so.
Yeah, so I like Connie says, Void, wow, that's deep. I love the color of your cat.
My cat or
Yeah,
Shadow? Shadow? Yeah, I got a black cat because I wanted to name her Shadow.
My first cat I had a male black cat when I was young. So, and then 2 tortoise shells after that.
Your mic is going to drive me nuts. I am going to have to buy you a new mic because
just tell me to get to deal with my computer.
It whistles at me, especially when you don't say anything. It's like it whistles really loudly.
I haven't had anybody else comment on it, and I've asked a few people. I'm so sorry.
Really? I mean, I'm sure people can hear it. I can't be the only one who hears the whistling from your mic. People, there's a bunch of people watching. People who are watching, does her mic whistle or not?
Here, I'll put it on again while they think about it.
Yeah, it's whistling. I can't be the only one who hears it.
I don't know whether to trust him. He just asked if I'm excited to be an American. So, he's got a little bit of a thing going on.
You can go back and listen to the video yourself. It'll show up in the thing. Shadow's not sure if she wants to come into my lap or not. I finished clipping your claws. Don't worry, I won't clip anymore. I promise.
Well, I think it's time to get a new laptop. That's probably part of the problem. But yeah, I know most people have external mics or something like that.
Yeah, this one cost me like $30, I think. Shadow's having a lot of fun.
Well said, Connie.
Don't drink and clip. I didn't cut her. Did I cut you? No. She ran away.
Okay, is it okay to ask you if I misheard something that you said either online or in?
No, you can't ask me.
Okay.
What do you want to ask me?
You didn't really drop out of any courses, did you? Again?
Oh, kind of.
Okay.
A few classes.
Not completely.
But not completely. No. I was talking about when I dropped out almost 20 years ago now. 20 years ago now, yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. Although I am thinking of not taking any master's degree classes next quarter, just to take a break.
Yeah.
I did one class this quarter, kind of to take a break, but I think I really kind of should have just taken a real break. I need a break. That's what I need. I think I need a break.
In essence, that's why I went to the funeral yesterday and gave in to the fact that I was going to have a messy day and probably spend part of it crying and part of it sleeping, regardless of whether I was at work or not at work. And so, yeah,
I'm wearing sweatpants, and Shadow has decided that she must destroy the straps on my sweatpants.
well, fair's
She's
fair.
having a lot of fun attacking the these things.
Her version of clipping nails.
Apparently, got you. Meow. Got you. Got you. You're all mine. You're all mine. Meow.
Oh, hi, Shadow. You poor thing. Hey?
Yeah, you poor thing. Life is so hard for a kitty. All you have to do all day long is play and eat and sleep. Must be really hard to being a kitty.
I'm sure she puts great concentration into it. Yeah. I was petting my neighbor's cat the other day and thinking, I'm going to have to give in to all of the people that are trying to offload their cats on me. Bring one home eventually.
Honestly, the only thing is the litter. Yeah, dealing with the litter. Feeding them is easy, but yeah, dealing with the litter, because especially I'm on the second floor here, and litter is heavy, and it gets even heavier once she pees in it. It's all your fault.
Yep. Doesn't get any better if you use that clumping litter that they've invented since
That's what I use.
Oh, gee. Okay.
Yeah, but you still, I mean, you have to, like, it's 50 pounds of litter. Wow.
Oh, yeah. I don't lift 50 pounds of anything. Not anymore. Well, I'll have to just keep having borrowed cats. Go visit them. There are a few close by.
We can give you away, Shadow. Anybody want Shadow?
I have one friend who would absolutely love, in some respects, to be rid of her one male cat that's driving her female cat crazy because he's younger and she's trying to put him in his place, and he already knows his place and they don't have the same concept of it. And she said to me, we could work out one of those shared arrangements that people have with kids. You take him every weekend so I can have some peace. Actually, she wants to have her older cat have some peace for a couple of days. So she keeps telling me he can come visit you.
I'm telling you, she wags her tail. She's wagging her tail. What kind of cat wags her tail? Oh, yeah, apparently they do 6 months of quarantine. But like, yeah, that's, I want to visit Australia, but like, Australia is weird. Have you seen those videos of like people boxing with kangaroos?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
I saw. I thought
Fuzzy said he's going to jump on.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, if I were in Canada, I would probably just vote however whatchamacallit says. What's his name? Jordan Peterson. Of course, in the United States, I voted how Jordan Peterson said. I trust Jordan Peterson.
Okay, so here's a. I still have not followed up on a let's have a discussion about Peterson talking to Polyev conversation that a friend who dislikes both of them wants me to have.
Dislikes Paul?
Dislikes Polyev, Pierre.
Oh.
Politicians, your favorite topic.
I thought you were talking about Paul Vanderklay. I'm like, Paul Vanderklay's whole channel started because he had a discussion with Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, no. No, one of our local politicians who wants to step in for he's conservative, so we're doing the usual liberal conservative, headbutting, and then the NDP, the Greens, and I think there's one more.
NDP is Jagmeet Singh.
It is.
Ugh. And the Greens. What's your other choice?
Shoot, I forget. There's something else. You
know
know what?
You forgot.
The Greens. The Greens.
It sounds like you have one choice. Seems pretty clear to me, Sandy.
Okay, so if I like some of what the conservatives bring to the table and some of what the liberals bring to the table, is there any way I can mash them together and get some form of sanity?
No, especially considering the liberals are coming into sanity from, and this is the thing, like the realignment that there is going to be in US politics, and I can't wait for it, but it's going to happen. It'll be nice for me to be able to be liberal because, see, I've said this story a billion times, but I grew up in Los Angeles and I always thought of myself as a conservative. And then I eventually realized, Jacob, you're not a conservative. You're just surrounded by insane people.
I'm not sure what LA insanity is, but some of those.
It's a lot like Toronto insanity.
I was born in Toronto. I love Toronto.
I was pretty much born in Los Angeles. I mean, I've been here since I was 7. It's been 40 years now.
The weird thing is, I haven't really thought of Toronto as being as much insane as some of. Most of the time, I don't think of specific locales for some of the extreme things, but I guess
Toronto is pretty extreme. Did I tell you the story of when I visited Toronto?
I don't think so.
I came to Toronto for a Magic thing. There was a tournament, and I was an official at the tournament there. One of my friends was in a wheelchair, and we went to the hotel, and the hotel didn't have an elevator, and all the rooms were on the second floor. And it was like, and we had to carry him up the stairs. And I had never seen that since Iran, because my grandfather was a quadriplegic in Iran.
Has to have been an old hotel, because that would be like, since this every hotel I've known since the 70s has an elevator. So
Are you kidding? In the United States, like,
no, I mean in
like,
Toronto.
yeah, no. But like, if that had been in Los Angeles, that Kyle would have owned that hotel.
But that's because you guys brought in the Americans with Disabilities Act
Yeah.
in the 80s when
Yeah.
Jacob was born in 86, and we went to Gallaudet in 91 it was 87. Joshua was still a baby. We went in 87. Joshua, 89. We went in 89 to Gallaudet University for a family learning vacation week, where you took your kids and you went and you learned all about deafness and things. And one of the first books that I bought when we started to deal with deafness was the one where they took over the Gallaudet University in mass protest because they wanted to have a deaf president. They're like, this is a deaf university and we have never been allowed to have a non-hearing president.
Okay, I have to tell you, deaf culture is the one place. I still remember I was in high school. I was taking a class at Pierce College, actually. And I was talking to a friend I made who, Fuzzy!
Hello.
Hello. I was talking to a friend I made who was a sign language interpreter. And she was the first person to tell me about deaf people who were asking doctors to make their kids deaf. And
30 years, I've never heard this in my whole life. It must be a US thing. I'm like, I don't know.
You can, like, the doctors have been debating it. You can read the articles where the doctors are debating it.
That's crazy, because here the stories I would hear come from some of the hearing people that were, what do they call them? They have a word, but adult children of deaf parents. Like one of the school people I know was sold by her parents to another deaf family because they had several hearing children and this other deaf family had none. And you wanted to have hearing children because they acted as your interpreters.
Okay, well, I don't know.
So I'm like, they're
sold is the correct
paying for deaf children.
But
maybe things have changed.
Yeah, I mean, and that was my first first encounter with the woke. Anyway, so what I was going to tell you is I was in Toronto and I was walking down the street and I saw a woman wearing a hijab, and there was a homeless man who was like harassing her. And I look around and nobody's saying anything. And I'm like, this is like, how is nobody saying anything? And I'm like, well, this isn't my country, but, and I went and I got between her and the guy, and I just stood between them the whole time. As she was walking, I was like screening her, right? And like, I'm like, why is nobody doing anything? And then many years later, I told one of my Canadian cousins about this story. And he's like, that's very nice, Jacob, but you should have just gone and found the police. It's like, you guys are a very different country from the United States.
Hey, Jacob.
Hello, Chazi. How does
First
it
of all,
feel like to be in the days of Mashiach?
Oh, buddy, I'm loving it, man. One needs to be careful. There's many different things. You and I talk about this often about, you don't want to jump the gun, so to speak. I mean, you could say that I jumped the gun by I live in Israel right now, right? But
no, living in Israel has nothing to do
all
with
these
it.
things. No. My point is the broader point of someone saying, you could say like the instantiation of the state of Israel was, something that happened too early and not the right thing, and it's the work of the devil. But But all these things end up meeting up, or will end up meeting up at a specific point. But I think that the Noahides, the advancements, the halachic advancements on the red heifer, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, the war, all these things. If you take a step back and you adjust your vantage point, it's hard to be too bashful about what's happening around us. And it's also
Did you listen to Yoav telling me to cool my jets?
I think we should always be careful with how we decide to react to these things. But again, I think it's foolish if we're just olam kamin hagon noheg, right? If things are just playing out as usual, because it's just not the reality. Time is moving faster. Things are changing in a rapid pace. And like you were saying about in your other stream, and I know that you and Yosef are going back and forth about this, but this is a real example of and it's scary, right? Like a bull in a china shop, or this chaos where you now have to wonder, okay, how is this gonna play out? And if you read different texts from different sages, many allude to that during these periods, right, things intensify and time is moving differently, and that is the sense. And then there's another big question: are we, as Jews, as humans made in God's image, do we rise up to the challenge? And do we?
Okay, are you as excited about this interview? Like, do you think the interview signals what I think it signals?
What interview?
Oh, so that's the whole reason I'm having this stream. Do you know what's his name? Al-Walid bin Talal al-Saud is?
No.
He is one of the princes of Saudi Arabia.
Okay, awesome. What do you have to say?
He is the prince who's in charge of the sovereign fund of Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And so he's a major investor in X.
Okay.
And he did an interview with Tucker Carlson that just came out today, and I'm pretty sure his interview with Piers Morgan is going to be coming out probably tomorrow. I actually checked to see if it's out yet. But where he gave strong indications that the Saudi and pretty much other Arab kingdoms are all very supportive of Donald Trump.
I mean, Donald Trump alluded to this as well, and this is also so beautiful to see. The reporters, and you could realize that the reporters, I mean, even before the election, but how they're not, as we say in Hebrew, they're not in the parsha, right? They're not understanding the reality is changing in front of them. The tactics they're using.
I'm not understanding what's changing in front of us. This is weird.
You're right, but hearing them say, but Jordan and Egypt said no, and then Donald Trump's like, yeah, they're gonna say yes.
Apparently they actually are going to say yes.
By the way, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I mentioned to Gilad, I'm like, I don't know, it could be that this whole relocation move that Trump wants to do it, and Gilad shut it down. He's like, we're not having a discussion because it's a pipe dream. So
what do you mean, 2 or 3 weeks ago, who was talking about relocation?
So I mean, Trump alluded to it, and people in Israel
Yeah.
I want to just mention what I'm thinking about. I'm not saying that it needs to be now clean of Palestinians or Arabs, but thinking outside the box, removing the current problem to allow to rebuild like the Phoenix, to re-educate, and even to theologically create a better undergirding. That's amazing. And if you want to have
see, now you're going even farther than anything I thought. You're such a messianist, I tell you. You're always on the bleeding edge.
How else are you supposed to interpret these things? Well, oh no, it's just a classic
Kezi,
move that Trump is doing. He went according to page number 36 of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, right? No.
Hezi, what's going to happen is several of the Arab countries are going to open their gates to numbers of Palestinians. I'm guessing probably maybe 1 million. I would be very surprised if it's even 1 million, but maybe. And then the United States is going to become the occupying power of Gaza, but we've been promised no U.S. troops, and I would be completely against it if U.S. troops are supposed to be involved. I will not have U.S. troops involved. The fact is, even when we say that there won't be U.S. troops involved, there's still going to be U.S. troops involved. But I want at least the thing to be that there's no U.S. troops involved. Honestly, unfortunately, there's going to be Canadian troops sent.
So I have a question, Hezi, because it grabbed my attention, and partially it did grab my attention because of the whole Trump saying that, you know, he's willing to, what is it? Canada costs him far too much money unless it was his, as in 51st state. So while all of the people of Canada are not worthy of his money that he's supposedly paying for us, unless he owns us, at the same time, he was saying that he was planning to move Gazans to Indonesia, and it was saying that Indonesians and Arab countries were all rejecting this. And I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. There's a place where I'm listening to a world leader say, we want Greenland because we deserve it. We want to have Canada, and I'm thinking, of course you do. That's one less border to get through to get to Greenland, which you want to. And then he wants to have Gaza and send the people off to Indonesia. And I'm thinking, did you ask the Indonesians? How much of what he's saying about the world costs us too much money, so we'll just take over the world, is actually...
You take him way too seriously, Sandy.
No, I'm kind of holding him in the place where some of the more sane, like I've been listening to some of the, I'm trying to listen to some of the more sane commentaries on some of this.
He was president of the United States for 4 years. Did the world end?
No, but he did.
But he did what?
He did bring some border issues to the front that we had to discuss, which he's now reneged on. So nothing happened. It's not about world's ending. This is about actual questions about. Okay, I live in a province where in 3 weeks I get to decide whether to re-elect the man who said, if you elect me, I will never touch the protected lands that are really important to the watershed systems. And as soon as he got in office, he's trying to sell them off to his big investor friends who are all into real estate. And people had lost their cookies on him, and he backed off a little.
Right. So
I'm kind of like,
politicians lie to you. This is not news.
Well, don't get too excited about that fact. This is the guy that just had a hot mic saying he loved he was in full support of Trump, and now he's trying to tell us that, oh no, I'm not like Trump. Oh no, I would never.
Okay, hold on. Have I ever given you the impression that I thought Donald Trump was anything less than a dirty scoundrel and a liar?
Honestly?
Yes, honestly.
I'm confused as to your position on Trump, because you really love what he's doing.
I love what is happening. I don't give him any credit for it.
Okay, well, this is something I have been wondering about while listening to your streams lately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to like this guy. This is back to the discussion about about Bibi Netanyahu, right? Like, these are not
Jacob,
people.
Cyrus wasn't awesome either.
Exactly. I said a million times, you're never going to find a picture of Donald Trump on my wall. Not going to happen.
So I have another question, Hezi, that earlier in the stream, or maybe it was last stream, I was looking up some of the what about the coming of the Messiah, because there was something that was said, and it surprised me that however I keyed it in, it wasn't just giving me all the usual Christian end of the world kind of stuff, but it was giving similar in the sense of there's going to be hard before there's easy kind of stuff from the Jewish context. And there's a lot that sounds similar, but it lands the same way that all of these politics talks do is I may not like the person, I may not like the format, but they seem to be doing things that, like, what's this thing with sort of the intersection of stuff? What is actually happening from how you see it? Like, is this a messianic end of the world similar to Christians going on about Revelation, as in things are starting to fall in place?
Hezi thinks everything is messianic. The light
First of all,
turns green while he's driving, and he thinks the Messiah is coming.
First of all, everything is messianic. We lack the courage to imagine and see beyond. But more seriously, first of all, just to double click on what you said, yes, there are this. We don't have to get too deep into this about Messiah, son of Joseph, and Messiah, son of David, and those periods. And there's discussions where the Messiah, son of Joseph, comes and everything's hunky dory, and then he gets killed, and then there's again a period of anguish. There's different versions, and this is because think about it as different timelines based.
Am I the only one not hearing Hezi?
What's happening in the world? There are different routes for redemption.
Hezi, are you driving to Har HaZevel again? When I was in Israel, that's how we referred to Tel Aviv in yeshiva, Har HaZevel. It means the mountain of trash.
Jacob?
Yes. Can you hear
So
me?
I was answering Sandy that, I can't hear you. I'm sorry about that. I was telling Sandy that there's different routes, and really it depends on how we act and how we behave to see what this turns into. So you could argue, right, that, Bibi could never have dreamed of such a thing, right? If Bibi suggested what Trump is suggesting, he might have been he's already been taken to court, but you could have had chaos. So we definitely see God working in mysterious ways. The question is, do we take this on, and do we now manifest Israel's future as the Jewish state, or is it still a secular state with its own secular and selfish wants? Because we know that Herod brought in the Romans, and that was a disaster, right? He brought it out to fix some issues, and ultimately that brought pain and devastation to Israel, right? So if I don't like when Trump says that they're going to own Gaza, I don't know what that means. I definitely don't want boots on the ground. I also know that he made promises that he's not going to start more wars. He wants to be shutting them down. So I understand.
There's going to have to be boots. No, it's not going to be IDF boots on the ground. Gaza's going. There's going to have to be an international force taking over.
And that's fine. And it could be that for right now, for the optics, right? Or it could even mean that America's presence is on the ground, but I don't
I don't think it's going to be America's presence. I think it's actually going to be maybe even Saudi, but possibly Egyptian troops.
Listen, but if it's Saudi, right? This you need to look now at Tana de Rabbi Eliezer about the last exile being the stronghold of Ishmael on the land, and that there too there's beautiful descriptions of what that looks like, and how and the reason they have such a strong claim in the land. That's why it's so beautiful. It's because who they are, and it's because the promises that were made to them, and it's because they are circumcised, and because they have a tremendous force, and they have God's name in their name, and that's why it shouldn't be shocking to us that they have such a stronghold, and we find ourselves in this situation, which is a ridiculous situation.
Are you sure that Smotrich and Ben Gvir are going to be as happy about Egyptian occupation of Gaza as you are?
No,
because I don't think so.
But there. It is not going to be, and I'm not interested in it being more Jewish settlers building their houses right now. I don't want it to be that.
I agree with you, but like, I don't know what the Israeli politics of Egyptian and Jordanian troops reoccupying Gaza and the West Bank is going to look like. But that's my guess of what's going to happen.
If we do it through the secular prism, then I think you have devastation, and then you have war crimes, and then you have ethnic cleansing, and then you have problems. And I don't care how Trump's doing it, and he's looking at like a real estate deal. Like, it's all a talking mouth, as far as I'm concerned, right? Like, I mean, not a talking mouth. It's just like a puppet, a talking puppet. The question is, if there's a vision, if we come back because we have a claim, and this is, I'm saying this about Sodom and Gomorrah, and I'm also saying this about October 7th. Horrible things happen in the world, and vengeance happens in the world, and the demand of God for vengeance is not because God hates or God wants evil, right? We spoke about this a little last week with Ben about how the Bible actually defines hate as lesser love, right? It's all on a spectrum. And I think that if we realize that we need to manifest, again, like, this is part of a greater ideal. We want to restore moral balance to the world. If we could rise, and Israel could rise, and America could rise, and this has to do with the transgender bill, and this has to do with leaving the UN and its Human Rights Watch, which is an insanity, an aversion. If we could actually stand on the right side of history, and this is also a question of AI, right? When Sam Altman comes and says, I'm on the wrong side of history. If we could be aligned morally, then I think we could look to a new path to success. I think we could start talking about messianic times.
So how does that relate to what Yoav was saying to Jacob and me earlier, in the sense of that it isn't the it's not the world leaders who are our hope. It's the people. It's us, the people.
Well, he wasn't saying it's hope. He was saying it's hopeless.
Okay, but the change has to come, in a sense, in what I understood was.
Yeah, but he was saying that change isn't going to come.
Well,
change is already happened.
So every day is new. Like that, you look at the scripture and it says, it's God's love is new every morning. I can get upset at something or whatever, but justice has to be what God wants, and I have to align with it. And one of the things I love about listening to some of the teachings from you guys is talking about we get to choose whether to add light or darkness into the world. And Jacob saying he can't influence. Well, I think I can influence. I may not be like prime minister. I may not be somebody that's in a power position.
Well, no, hold
I-
on. I mean, I wouldn't say you can't influence. Look, I don't think anybody can say that I was not politically active certainly this election, but I've always been very politically active. It's a question of relevance realization, of realizing, okay, what is the correct, level of involvement. And I mean, again, I keep on going back to the fact that as much as I wanted to be a part of what these young men are doing right now, 25 years ago, that's not what happened. And as much as I would like to help them, like, to some extent, I feel like, doing a stream like this maybe is having a tiny bit effect towards the positive. And frankly, if I could, I would get on a plane to Washington D.C. and help them. But I have to realize, like, I don't get to decide like what's actually going to end up happening here. I can contribute somewhat. Wow, we have Eddie. Eddie, you
Jacob,
should jump on. I have never actually spoken to Eddie. Can you believe that?
Jacob,
Yeah.
your influence, and this is to Sandy as well. You're already manifesting here, b'Shechem Echad, right? In one accord. Slowly but surely, like even Ben's manifestation, Ben's child, Naphtali, it's already all intertwined. You're already building a coalition of people that are speaking beyond a certain divide and are looking at reality. And this is true to the symbolic world and Jonathan Peugeot and all of it. It's bigger than us.
Colonimus says at Chezi, if the Americans actually take over Gaza, then you can kiss Israeli sovereignty goodbye.
Did I not mention how with Herod that was a mistake? So the question is how that plays out and how we allow that to play out. All those things are yes, like it could go horribly wrong. It could go amazingly right. What Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing on the interior politics and to the institutions in America is very scary, as Yosef is talking about. It could also listen to the pushback. We're going to use AI to see if we could find corruption, but I don't trust the AI. Okay, so we're going to see, right? If everyone's it's going to have to play out. I believe though that in this chaotic period, right? Perhaps again, and this has been going on for a while. This is the moment we're waiting for, and this alludes to what Yoav was saying, Sandy, which is it's not about the singular leader right now. Right? It's about the people waking up and realizing that there are other options, that people have been lied to, that people have been put to sleep with lies and narratives, whether it be Yuval Noah Harari, right? Or whether it be Klaus Schwab, what's his name?
Klaus Schwab, yeah.
Yeah, so all these things. So these people were the leaders in these institutions. You're like when you see Jake Tapper on TV, don't understand that it's over, it's finished. You don't have to even take that seriously anymore. And we have to see what happens. But Sandy, your involvement here and how that then affects your relationship with your son, and how that eventually will affect how your son looks at the world. That is participation in rectifying the world. It doesn't mean that you need to now become the Prime Minister of Canada. And even that, by the way, Justin Trudeau getting the boot, it's all happening.
Sandy would be such a better Prime Minister than Justin Castro.
I have more important things to do down here on the bottom.
And by the way, Jacob, just as far as Gaza goes also, even the figure that people throw out there, like 2 million, 1.8 million, I've seen figures that is closer to 1.
What, the number of Palestinians living there?
Than people stick to, which is also not true. There are polls that show that there are many Gazans that just want to leave. They want a better life. They want to go somewhere else. And
The problem is the problem is the ones that don't want to leave are going to be the problem.
And the ones that don't want to leave, and this is where I really go off the rails, Jacob. So bear with me. The ones that don't want to leave,
Yeah.
they need to be removed for the while. And I'm not saying permanently even. They need to be removed for the while in order that they could experience a different reality, which hopefully, if people are interested in doing this, and if the Saudis and other moderate leadership or optimistic theologians in the Arab world want to have a discussion of this idea of two-level
Chazi, this is where you're being incredibly idealistic. If the people who don't want to leave get removed, they're going to get removed permanently. And you know
Yes,
what I mean.
No, I don't. No, you mean no. The people that don't want
Yes,
to
that's how Egypt and Saudi Arabia, like, we're talking about MBS here. He's going to he's going to bury them in their tunnels 6 feet under, and that's going to be it.
You know, we say from Adam till Noah, right? Why didn't God destroy the world at that point? And there's an interpretation which is God doesn't mind necessarily if the world is all corrupt. He's still going to give it a chance because of his mercy. However, when an individual like Noah exists, when there is an example of a higher moral standard, and then people still misbehave, then his patience runs thin. I would say that it's less of a condemnation of the 15-year-old Gazan that grew up in an evil environment and now manifests evil. But it's now that there's another reality on the table. It's no longer locked doors. You can change. Then there is responsibility that needs to be taken out. Someone has to.
Chazi, Mohammed bin Salman is a brutal dictator who will murder people because he doesn't want to deal with them. And regardless of anything else, right? It's like I'm sorry, like this is the
1 second before
you're talking about a bloodbath.
Before you finish that sentence, can we, for the sake of argument, okay? Let's just look back. Let's just use the logic of the last 2 months, right? What happened in Syria, what happened in America, and right now with this announcement. You would have said the same exact thing to me a month ago.
What do you mean?
I'm saying that Donald Trump will offer to relocate everyone and take over. You'd be like, no, that's not going to happen. That's ridiculous. It's not a serious conversation to have. And here we are.
Good thing my Twitter from months ago is still available. Months ago, I was yelling at everyone that at the very least, we need to allow everybody who wants to leave Gaza to leave. I've been arguing. You can go and look at my Twitter. I have always been for
Jacob,
the idea of allowing people who want to leave to leave. That's not the same thing as what you and I know Mohammed bin Salman is going to do to people who don't want to leave.
But Jacob, we didn't know and we wouldn't assumed what would happen in Syria, and we didn't know and we wouldn't assume what Donald Trump would do, and we didn't know and we did what he would have said right now about Gaza.
What does that have to do with the fact Mohammed bin Salman is going to walk in there and murder thousands of people?
Or, and this is my whole point, or he doesn't. He doesn't do that.
Yeah, that'll be another miracle.
So, okay, you're right. Maybe we're in the age of miracles, you know?
Okay.
By the way, that doesn't speak so highly of the state of the Jewish people, right? We are lacking.
That what? That I'm just glad you're not one of the people, and you know there are people who are like, good.
Good what?
Good. Let Mohammed bin Salman go in there and get rid of him.
No, I don't want that. I want
Baruch Hashem, but you know that there are.
Right. So the discussion now and needs to constantly be, and they should have said more of it. And I just don't understand why they don't. Constantly
they're just sending out hints so far. Are you kidding? Like,
No, but-
all of this stuff has been decided, and this. Are you not watching like that? Why do you think I'm doing this stream? Tucker Carlson flew to Saudi Arabia. Like, when was it made up that he's going to fly to Saudi Arabia with Piers Morgan to have this interview? It must have been at least weeks ago.
Well, they're saying Trump didn't let anyone know about this, or any of his staff really know about this. This was kept very close to the chest.
Yeah, no. So one thing that has definitely been going on in terms of whatever this is over the past 2 months, they've been making many plans, and we're just watching it unfold. Somebody these things have obviously been planned in ways that, I'm glad all of these people were able to come together to make these plans, but
I'm just saying there's a clip running in Israel right now from 1999, showing every time the news anchors, the politicians say it's the end of the dawn, it's the end of the reign of Netanyahu. Every time it's the end of the reign of Netanyahu. This is the end of him politically. The end. And putting aside who the guy is personally, you have to look at him as it's bigger than him. There is no Netanyahu. You have to understand that. Honestly,
I would be very happy to be rid of Bibi Netanyahu.
You'd be very what?
Very happy to be rid of Bibi Netanyahu. Same thing with actually Donald Trump as well. Baruch Hashem for everything we've gotten from him, but may he retire very safely and spend a very, very long time speaking much less than Jimmy Carter did.
Amen. And I think correct. These were the people, I hope, that need to take us to this finish line where now we could look at ourselves and be like, we need different leadership.
Yeah, hopefully.
But it's leadership, and this is I don't know, when they sit down and say it's going to be the Riviera of the Middle East and all the people of the world are going to come back, they should say, and believers of Muhammad, peace be upon him, they of course are welcome to come there, inshallah. Use that terminology. Say it's open for everyone. That is the language that is needed.
Chazi, the language is apparently going to be whatever His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman decides. I don't know what that's going to be like.
Wow,
it's definitely going to be very, very imperfect.
Are you saying that there's going to be an Arab king that represents the royalty of Ishmael, recognizing Jacob and his home? Wow. Almost like it's biblical. Wow. Literally, when you see they're making the 56th remake of Snow White, you realize instead of literally looking out your window and making a film about the reality in front of you, no, let's just make another film about the same story again, and not realizing the reason you're doing a show and a remake again of Lord of the Rings is because you all want to come back to the original story, baby, and it's manifesting in front of you. That's what's happening. And we have to realize how I'm very inspired by this thing that Yosef shared on the Discord about the 2-level Islam. To me, this was like,
Oh, I didn't watch it yet.
so in al regel achat, as they say, and this is something that we've already alluded from the Noahide perspective, but the claim is that there are interpretations of understanding Islam, which is it's 2-tiered. There is the din, which is a requirement for Jews and Christians, which is like the theological fundamentals. And then there is the Sharia, which is specific to each denomination. So there's Jewish Sharia, which is the 613. There is Christian Sharia, which is, let's say, the Noahide code with like a Greek tinge to it. And then there is the Muslim Sharia that is for their context. And the requirement to recognize Muhammad and Islam is not as the greatest or the best as Jews, right? Because that's we believe in Moses is the greatest of all prophets. Rather that he is the most universal of the prophets, as in it's the basic common denominator. That is the last of the prophets to promulgate the messianic idea. And in that context, that could be a place for a conversation. And the claim that the Arabs have, that the Muslims have, that we've abandoned our law, obviously we need to get into that. But then it's not that Bnei Israel can't do their thing. They just have to make sure they're doing their thing properly. And obviously we fall short. And same goes to the Christians, and obviously same goes to the Muslims. But looking at Muhammad as a prophet that's promulgating Moses' law in the context of the Arab world, that is something that we, of course, can accept. And that is a conversation, that is the next step. Because I think after many years of you in this corner, and I think we've established some sort of framework for a better model of Christian and Jewish dialogue. And obviously there's much to still discuss over here. But at least here, we're producing a model that seems to be fruitful, not only a cordial, but fruitful. And I look at what's happening now in Gaza and the whole map that's changing, including the Saudis. It doesn't get better than this as far as an opportunity to make this happen. And that's what I have to be hopeful for. And yes, I want to be optimistic. I want to be a dreamer.
Who was just recently saying this, Hezi? Was this on another channel today, or was it something else? Because I was hearing this on my way back up from the funeral on my way home.
I mentioned in the last few minutes of the Maimonides stream.
Okay, that's probably what I was listening to, because I'm going, did we just have this conversation? Yeah.
So Kalanimus says something that I agree with. So definitely no Islamic references. MBS doesn't seem to be a fan of Islam, in my opinion. I would agree with that. Second, I have a question. Like, I don't understand how on my stream I end up being the middle path between Yoav, who is even more anti-messianist than I am, and Hezi, who is definitely like off the messianist fringe, when I'm supposed to be the messianist and the anti-messianist on my channel.
We all have our place, and God knows us well, Jacob.
You're realizing now, Jacob, that you're on the nosebleeds. Come, I have tickets. I sent you stage. I thought you're coming.
You know, I wanted to come for Pesach.
But
I don't know. No. I wanted to come for Pesach, but you know what? Once there's a Middle East peace deal, we're gonna have to have that conference in Jerusalem we've been planning on.
Oh, that's going to be one out of many conferences. I can't wait to see PBK speaking in Gaza.
Who's inviting PBK? What are you even talking about?
Man, Paul's a special man. But I mean, I think this is a different conversation, Jacob. But you and I, also already touched upon this. You're not going to agree about this, but even Yoav to me,
I didn't hear a word you had to say, Chazi. I think it must be Hashkacha Pratit. God was like, nope. Even Yoav gets to decide for himself.
Jacob,
There you are.
sorry. I believe that Yoav is another manifestation, or is a glimpse of
He's a glimpse. He is a glimpse.
the glimpse of the Orthodox Jew that doesn't have the title Orthodox. This is a returning back home that doesn't require necessarily to manifest in the way we've done so in exile. I know that's scary. I'm not the Sanhedrin. I'm not saying it is what it is. I'm just saying his political stances, his involvement in the Bible streams, his conversations over here. This is someone that is hungry for the relationship with the Master of the universe. I don't need him to call him Hashem. I don't need him to interpret the commandments necessarily the way I do traditionally.
Yeah, but Chazi, who cares what you need?
No one cares what I need. I believe that is not what's being required of us, even as a people right now at this stage.
Aha. Good thing you went and took your exam like I told you to. Rabbi.
You're right. Then what I'm saying right now would just be more controversial.
Kalonimus says Yoav seems to take the Yeshaya Leibowitz approach to Mashiach. I think Gilad also is a big fan of Leibowitz.
He's a big fan of Yeshaya Leibowitz. I don't know. I mean, like, he's obviously a powerhouse. It's a depressing philosophy. It's not my cup of tea. Doesn't mean it needs to be fully ignored, but not my.
The secular Israelis really seem to like him.
Yeah, I mean, basically, because like he's saying, like, get rid of all the woo woo.
Yeah, he's a rationalist. We could all be rational.
I've been called a realist, but I believe in miracles.
And I believe in Rav Nachman. I believe in breaking the paradigm. I believe in a new Torah.
Do you know what happened yesterday, Hezi? Something on a very small scale that was really earth-shaking for me happened yesterday. I took my son out. For breakfast again, and he signed to me. He said that on Friday he went for a walk, and I looked at him and he said, last Friday. I asked him, I said, Jacob, grammar is really something that I'm amazed by, because language is built like a house. It has grammar for all the, it uses grammar for the beams and the posts and stuff. And I don't know if you realize how much your grammar has changed in the last year, but I don't think I've ever seen you make reference in that simple kind of sentence. Last Friday, I went for a walk. He's using past, present, and future tense in the ASL. This is a child who, when I was pregnant with him, I had that rough conversation I've mentioned 3 years ago. Am I keeping this one? Yes, but by the way, here are some things about him. And one of the ongoing conversations was, is he ever going to get language? Yes. And there were several at 13, at 26, he's 38 now. I'm watching massive changes and predictable patterns. And that might not sound like the kind of miracles that most people, when they talk, especially like you look at, go to any good Pentecostal church, they probably mean about 30 seconds from now. But to me, that is God working an ongoing miracle in the life of somebody with whom I'm very intimately involved. And
Well, I mean, I had that discussion yesterday with Christianity on the Spectrum, and he was talking about the people who try to exercise the spirit of autism.
yeah, we've been prayed over many times. Autism and deafness. Never managed to belong to quite one or the other cultural groups of people in our area. We're always stuck in the middle. But yeah, but
Your mic is killing my ears.
I was thinking it was me. Think about the difference in quality of a miracle. If I had gone to any of those people who prayed over me and Jacob, and boom, they say, he's healed, end of story. Life takes a completely different track than it does where I've been working for almost 40 years now, following God, trusting God, holding to, that was the one thing Yoav said, where were you 3 months ago? And I thought, where was I 30, 40 years ago? In this same place. What do you hold on to? What are the things that I don't have to change? I don't have to change my trust in God. I mean, I adjust to it as things change along the way. But I will always say this is a miracle. It's a miracle in the same way every important thing in the world that's been spoken, everything that's written down in scripture, everything that you talk about ongoing, is Messiah coming? Is he coming? Is it time? Is it now? Time and timing are part of a miracle that God's been working out. And I don't think that our ongoing frustration or complaints about, his concept of good timing is really in any sense lessening that miracle. And a bit biased on that because of Jacob.
When we leave when we leave Egypt, the first year we complain and Moses has to hit the rock, right? There needs to be a lot of hold handed, a lot of miracles happening, explicit miracles. As we mature towards the end, before we come into the land, Moses is requested to speak to the rock because the ideal is that the Israelites have grown and they've matured and they no longer need so much hand-holding. They need to start understanding that this could be happening through speech. They themselves could start manifesting this world. And the Talmud says that Moses is likened to the sun and Joshua to the moon, right? When the sun is shining, you can't see any stars. And that was necessary at the time. Joshua, when he brings the people into the land, is leadership of co-creation, of man manifesting his own destiny and aligning it to what God wants. So after 40 years, almost, your Jacob is, like you said, is manifesting his own miracle, but by his own works and his own doings. And of course, it's your involvement as well. And you appreciating that miracle is even more, it's intensifying and stressing God's involvement in it. In the strength he gave you, in the strength he gave in your child and in your community to allow you to build this relationship and even note what you're talking about right now. So this to me is a much greater miracle than him suddenly speaking. And that's not what's necessary. What's necessary, where we see his works, where we see his beautiful glory is in what you just said right now. That you could realize that, and like you just said, and it's in the grammar. And those are the little miracles that manifest all around us constantly. Every single day, he renews the act of creation. And to me, that is beautiful. And that also alludes to what I was telling Jacob, that Israel's not doing so great if we require such amazing miracles like Donald Trump and Syria and Elon Musk and what he just said right now, right? Because we're not manifesting it ourselves. Our leadership sucks, and we have hostages locked away. So we're not doing great. And unfortunately, on that end, it looks like people need to be woken up. But I much prefer, like sort of the TLC, that it would be a bottom-up growth instead of still needing the top-down. But having said that, any gift or any blessing from God is, of course, welcome.
Well, and the other thing Jacob taught me was it's not about just what I get to see on the surface, and that's what I was saying to him yesterday in the car was, were you aware of these changes? Like, it amazes me that I see things as if they've not happened for a long time, and then suddenly I see them happening. But I am very aware of the fact that out of sight, you've been building all these things. That's why I likened it to a house, because he loved building with his dad, going to the carpentry, building and repairing and fixing and seeing how things come together. And maybe one day he'll be able to say to me, this is what it was. Maybe he won't. But through all of that time, the things that remain unseen are still happening. And that amazes me, yeah.
And our involvement in it. Rabbi Cook mentions that he talks about the resurrection of the dead. Does that sign that needs to be, let's say, old school miracle, right? Abracadabra like, or is it something that through technology man manifests? And then it's a question of you could look at that as AI. Is this, because if you look at it from the outside, it's a miraculous technology. Do we use it for good? Do we use it for healing? Do we use it for healing cells and longevity medicine and creating a completely new reality? Or do we use it for cloning sex bots, right? Or creating havoc? We know that Saddam was actually a very organized, like, people think of Saddam as like sort of like one big like crazy bar fight, right? It's just chaos. It was very organized. They were just corrupting values as far as charity and looking out for the other. They were self-centered. It doesn't mean they didn't have fancy chariots or need homes. They just perverted how to use their technology and their know-how and their cultural status. Horrible. And that's why they needed to be removed. So here too, and this is something that Jonathan Peugeot once said, which is, I think at a discussion with PVK or with John Vervaeke, which was, it would be a different discussion if the AI is being made by monks and rabbis in like a monastery or a synagogue, but it's not. It's being done by microdosing people in Silicon Valley, right? So where are your values aligned? And again, that's why I say when Sam Altman says like I was on the wrong side of history, when I see Mark Zuckerberg wearing a Misha Berach necklace on his neck, right? It's to me that is recognizing proper.
He was wearing a Misha Berach?
Yeah.
Where'd you hear this?
Go check that out. Go look at that interview when he talks about it. That's what you have to look at. You have to be like, 1 second, who does Mark Zuckerberg represent? Forget the little kid. Forget the movie they made about him. This is a man with his hands on the levers of the most powerful one of technologies in the world, right? This guy is crowning himself first with the name of the master of the universe on his chest, on his heart, right? Those are things you're looking at. What's the name of Argentina? That guy becoming a Noahide?
Millet?
Yes. All these things. Finally having the courage. Also,
okay, he did this 7 years ago.
Who?
Zuckerberg.
What are you talking about?
He first started talking about Misha Berach 7 years ago.
But it became the year he started doing it is less relevant. It's when it has cultural relevance. When this year they interview about him and ask him about it, though. and that required him to change his look and grow his hair and start doing jujitsu and talking to Joe Rogan, and all those things have to happen for him to see the humanity and realize who he is and what he's supposed to be doing.
But his kids still aren't Jewish, Kazi.
Okay, so I didn't say
So it doesn't matter. Jewish kids, who cares?
Jacob, I was talking about this in the context of the technologies that are ruling our world right now, right? What is leading these people, right? Sam Altman coming out saying, I'm on the wrong side of history. When do you hear anyone take responsibility for mistakes today? Ever. Ever. Just the fact that someone got up and say, like, I was wrong. That should be applauded. Who says that? No one. So those are data points. And maybe it's all, maybe.
Judaism is a huge part of Zuckerberg family's life. The Facebook founder has been really leaning into his Jewish identity since becoming a father, posting pictures of his daughter with a Kiddush cup and public apologies for Yom Kippur. In 2021, Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan donated over $1 million to Jewish charities. The family has Shabbat dinner every week and celebrates Jewish holidays. Back in December of 2023, Zuckerberg posted a picture of his youngest daughter Aurelia's first Hanukkah, writing that the holiday is especially meaningful after Priscilla's conversion to Judaism last year. The story of Hanukkah is about miracles. May light always overcome darkness. I am not aware that the conversion was an Orthodox one, but better than nothing, I guess.
And Jacob, do you know that in Israel, obviously most of the media channels are not going to talk about this, the talking heads, but there's an insane revival of religious observance, of connecting to God. It's out of control. Like
out of control.
Jacob, there is a school called the Gymnasia, famous school in Jerusalem.
I've heard of it.
It's next to one of my projects, right? Like a lot. I mean, now there's just like a lot of just like punky kids over there, but all these kids, they all have their punky clothing and like they're not even wearing a kippah. All of them are walking around with tzitzit. Everyone. Tzitzit. Everywhere you walk in Israel, you just see people with tzitzit. People you wouldn't assume with tzitzit. People saying Baruch Hashem. By the way, did you see the sign that... why don't I even start with this? And I'll end with this. She came out of captivity. The first thing she's holding on, coming out of the helicopter, is... what did she say? She said, Be'emunah bati, u'be'emunah shavti. I was kidnapped and taken with my faith, and I was redeemed with my faith. That's it. No political thing, no BB home. The faith in God, in Hashem, in the master of the universe. And this is someone that sat for 1.4 months in captivity, starvation, beating, rape, nothing. Faith.
Be'ezrat Hashem, not rape. Please don't make up stories that we don't know.
I don't know if she was raped. We definitely know people were raped.
Okay.
But Jacob, that's the win. Coming back like that, and that's her sentence. That's what she wants. That's what she believes in. You understand? Some of these people were saying how they're nervous for the captives to come back home because they're not going to recognize their parents anymore or siblings because they've all become observant. They all keep Shabbat now. They keep kosher now. They pray now. They learn now. So we don't know. Yeshuat Hashem Keherifine.
The salvation of the Lord is like the blinking of an eye.
Catch you guys on the flip.
It was nice meeting you. Oh, your mic is going to kill me. Colonymous says, To be honest, I'm not a fan of the pick and choose concept when it comes to religion. It sounds nice, but leads to decadence and completely disfigures it. I hate to tell you something, my dear friend Kalonimus, but Ben Shmonisra Lachupa. That was true in exile. Come back home. Do you know what would happen if I made Aliyah? My parents would kill me.
Maybe my mic is practice. So that's killing you.
It's not just static. It's this high pitched whistle. And I'm usually not that sensitive, but like, yeah, it's bad. You have to go find your mic, Sandy. Okay. Is anybody else going to jump on? Because if nobody else is going to jump on, nobody's pushed back and told me I'm crazy.
I've alluded to it, but I'm too polite. Doesn't push you hard enough.
Colonimus, my dear friend Colonimus, as I was referring to those that pick practices because they feel it optimizes for something that they want, not people who are striving to be observant and aren't holding there yet. Aha. So you're striving to be observant and you still haven't found. Come on, Colonimus, you're Satmar. I can't believe you're having difficulty finding a shidduch. You're employed, you're Satmar. There must be women lining up around the Shadchan's house or office or whatever, waiting. Okay. I'm going to give it another 4 minutes, and if nobody jumps on,
I'll say good night just in case, then you can just flow right into closing up shop.
okay. See, they're lining up around the block. I am sure. I've heard there's a shidduch crisis. A young man with a job. Come on. Yeah, I guess in Satmar it might be kind of difficult when your family's not. Satmar is pretty hardcore. You could go to Chabad, Crown Heights. Find yourself a nice Lubavitch girl. Have you seen that meme? You must know the meme that I'm talking about. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't know. I'm looking up Satmar on my phone, and lovely looking young family here. That could be you.
It could be him. There was a meme that was going around with it said Chabad couples, and the wife was beautiful and the husband looks like Oscar the Grouch, like Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street. Yeah. By the way, at the rate that Williamsburg and Crown Heights are growing, they're going to end up connecting. The joke that's popular now is that The last Chassid in Williamsburg lives closer to 770 than Rodney. I don't know where Rodney is. I don't know New York that well, but Rodney must be where the Satmar Rebbe lives, or where the yeshiva is. There's a bunch of people watching. There's at least 15 people watching. What are people watching? I think Matthew was on earlier. Did I see Matthew? Yeah, Matthew was around. Matthew, if you're watching and you're not jumping on, I'm mad at you. We were supposed to have a talk. Satmar Shul in the heart of Williamsburg. Okay, people, as Yoav said, remember, the Messiah is not here yet, no matter how good things are. Okay, I'm going to end with
Midwestuary 2025, August 22nd through the 24th in Elmhurst, Illinois. A weekend you won't want to miss with special guests Cale Zeldin, Paul Vanderklay, Rod Dreer, Elizabeth Oldfield, John Vervaeke, and Jonathan Pajot. Midwestuary 2025, the Fellowship of the Spirit. Stay tuned for more details. Visit us at midwestuary.com for ongoing updates.
I'm going to use host's prerogative to put the Reverend Parcells to bed because he does need to get up in the morning.
Sorry, Reverend. Thank you.
But before he goes, I have a question. Let's say, God forbid, that I were to burn somebody at the stake for not being a Trinitarian. And I did not repent of that. Is that a salvation issue?
Sometimes Jacob takes that devil's advocate thing too
Isn't there
far.
a proverb that says something like, "Don't answer a fool according to his folly."
But there's a proverb that says, answer a fool according to his folly.
There is. Exactly right. And I'm going to leave it to you guys to determine, which of those was applicable in this situation as I go. So, but anyhow, good.
Thank you, Reverend.
Good to
Thank
chat
you.
with you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
The